think it's very important for the citizens of the Glen Oaks area to be able to be introduced to the candidates that's running to be your representative for the next 2 years. I would hope that all 8 of us, there are 8 of us in this race, I would hope that all 8 would be here so you would get a chance to meet us firsthand, but that has not happened. I have lived all of my adult life in the southern sector of Dallas, and at least half of that period we had what we called a council seat at large, which basically meant that all of our elected officials were elected from one area, and that was in the northern sector of Dallas. That's because the southern sector did not have the money or the resources to compete. Therefore, we had no voice at the table. For many years, we complained about this. We said this is not fair to the southern sector to have representatives representing us from the northern side that have no concern about our issues in the southern sector. After many years of battling this issue, the courts agreed with us. They said, you are right. So we came up with the 14-1 plan, which means now every community has a seat at the table. Every community has a representative to speak for them at that table. The question today is, if we elect someone from the southern sector that's not speaking for us, we have defeated the whole purpose of having a single-member district. So you need to be very careful when you go out to vote for your representative to make sure you are voting for someone that will vote your issues. I promise you this. Number one, I live in your district. I have lived in the southern sector of Dallas all of my adult life. Number two, I am familiar with the issues facing the southern sector of Dallas. Number three, I will listen to you and I will articulate those issues for you when I am elected as your representative on the Dallas City Council. I think there are 4 major things that I would put as top priority for the southern sector. Number one is public safety. We all need to be safe in our homes. As an attorney and as a judge, I walk in and out of the jail. When I walk in the jail, there are bars that close behind me. There are cameras that focus on what I'm doing. Over the last 3 months, I've been walking this community. When I walk into many of your homes, I'm closed in by bars. There are cameras that's watching what I'm doing. We are locked up because of fear of what may happen to us if we're not locked up. Number 2, education. We complain about education. We complain about economic development. We complain about a lot of things. But if you don't have the right education, people are not going to move into your community. Industry is not going to move here because when industry get ready to move, they look at the schools. That's the first thing they look at. No one's going to move into a community where the schools are performing at a low level. And I know we have some educators in the room tonight. And I know we even have a former school board member here. This area is one of the lowest performing areas in the state of Texas, and we need to do something about that, and that's one of my concerns. Thirdly, economic development. We need to do something to stimulate economic development. We all want better jobs in the southern sector of Dallas, and one of the ways to do that is by creating a transparency. In other words, we need to be transparent with you. The one thing that I will do as your city councilman, I will be transparent. I live in one section of District 4, but I will not just represent that section. I will represent the entire section of District 4. The very first thing that needs to take place is there need to be some trust. Right now, I don't believe that the people in District 4 have had the type of trust in their elected officials that they need to have. Therefore, that has transcended the citizens of District 4 into the developers that normally would come into District 4. I don't have to tell you the history of what has happened to a lot of our elected officials from the southern sector of Dallas. I don't want to go into that, but you know this history. We have to recreate that trust so that developers will want to come to our area. Now, we talked about, and I talked about earlier about the district at large. That was a different problem than what we have today. The problem we have today, if we don't do better, then it's our problem. When we had district at large, it was a different problem. Now, if we don't elect the right person, it's our problem. We can't complain that they're not giving us a chance. We have a chance. We just have to elect the right person to represent us and be our voice down at City Hall. And the first thing is to get that trust back into the southern sector. That way we can get the developers to come over here. We have the best opportunity in Dallas to develop. There's no other place in Dallas like the southern sector to develop. Some of you were around when we had some major shopping centers. Westcliff Mall, Keys Mall, Redbird Mall. They're all are becoming endangered malls now because we don't keep them up. And one of the reasons is because we don't have trust in our elected officials. So that's one thing that I will do, is create some trust in the elected official that represents you at City Hall, so that the developers will know when they come and talk to me that they can trust me, that I won't be expecting a under-the-table deal, that whatever I do will be above board, it will be transparent, and when something happens in District 4, all of you will be invited. Something that's happened tonight, I bet none of you got invited to. That is wrong, folks, and you need to do something about it. Well, first of all, every person in this country should have a right to go into business and earn a living, so long as that business is not infringing on the rights of others. There are certain businesses that I would not want next to my home. There are certain businesses that you would not want next to your home. And we have ordinances in place. I can almost guarantee you there's an ordinance that will protect any type of concern that you have. The question is that ordinance being enforced? So all you need to do is call your city attorney, that's his job, and complain. And if he doesn't respond, call again. And then call the person that's over your area. See, that's another thing that we need to do in this area. We need to find out who these folks are. As a city council person, we appoint 51 boards and commissions. Most of you don't even know who represent you. Right now, we have a real problem with senior citizens. I'll be willing to bet that I couldn't get 5 people in this room to tell me who the senior citizen representative is in this area. Because we don't know, and we need to know that. You have a right to know that. And that's what we need to do. So, to get back to your question, we need to enforce the rules that's on the books now. Make sure that they are being followed. If I bought the volumes and volumes of city ordinances and piled them up here, you would be amazed at how many city ordinances we have. We just need to enforce the ones we have. Go to those tire shops and make sure that they are following the rules. Just to give you an example, we have an ordinance that you can only have so many garage sales. I know this is going around, but this is to give you an example. So many garage sales. But there's a corner. I pass by every weekend. They're having a garage sale every weekend, and no one's doing anything about it. Those tire shops that's a sore eye in the community, I will almost guarantee you they are not up to code. So we need to get those code enforcement officers over there and make sure that those businesses are up to code. I'm not for keeping anyone from making a living from their business, but I am for making sure that they do what they're supposed to do and follow the ordinance and make sure that they're not an eyesore in the community. It goes back to the very central issue, equality. Who is speaking for you downtown? I once officed on the northern side of town, and I would look out and I would see the street sweepers come down about once a week. I was pulling in this afternoon and I was amazed. I saw a street sweeper out there. First time I've seen one this year. So we have to demand equality in the southern sector just like everywhere else. So there are broken down, dilapidated, dangerous sidewalks out there. But if we don't complain to our elected official, and if our elected official won't go down there and speak for us, it will continue to happen. And then things happen that we don't even have any idea that it's going on. Like just a few months ago, most of you, or some of you, celebrated opening up a Walmart up the street, right? Remember that? No one told you, most of you probably don't even know, they're getting ready to try to open up a liquor store right there. What do you think is going to happen to your community when that happens? But see, you're not being told the whole story. You need to be, your representative need to be transparent with you and tell you the whole story. So you need someone down there that's going to say, we want our sidewalks brought up to par, just like they are on the north side, because I am the representative for the people in the southern sector, and I want the same type of services that you're providing on the north side. I think we need to bring attention to the problem. There are a lot of things that I've found out over the last 4 months walking this district, because sometimes we can isolate ourselves and not even know these problems exist. I've learned so much about the city of Dallas in the last 4 months. I had no idea of some of the poverty that people go through in the city of Dallas. I just lived in my little shell and didn't realize that, even though I live here and I try to stay involved in my community, but you have to step outside. So I would invite those folks from the northern section, those city councilmen from other parts of the city to come and sit down with us in the southern sector, and let's sit down together and see what we can do for the southern sector. Because I think if we're working together, then we can turn this around. But before we do that, the very first thing needs to be done, we need to clean our own house. We have over 400 churches in District 4. We got churches. I go to Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship Church down the street. If some of the churches in District 4 could model what has happened on Camp Wisdom over here, we wouldn't have to ask city council, state government, federal government, or anybody else to come and help us. Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship Church owns everything from Hampton all the way to Pope, all the shopping malls, everything down there. We're in over 100 schools trying to help the children there. We provide Thanksgiving food at Thanksgiving, Christmas toys for kids at Christmas. We provide, we have a pregnancy center. There's just so many things that church is doing. And if we could get half of the churches, not half of them, a tenth of the churches in Dallas, in District 4, to model that, then we wouldn't have the problem we have. So the very first thing is I would try to get a coalition of members of the city council to come to a forum and just sit down and discuss it and see it. Because I don't believe they realize what's going on. Because I live here and I didn't know what was going on until I actually got out and started walking in this community to see some of the problems. Because you can't sit in your homes and listen to the TV and listen to your representatives tell you what's going on, because you don't know. You got to get out there and see it for yourself. Safety first, because I think without people feeling safe in their homes, we can forget about everything else. So safety, people need to feel safe in their homes. They need to feel safe when they pull up into their driveway, that they're not going to be broken in on, robbed, or whatever might happen to them. So safety would be number one. Number two, I think we need to develop our schools so that we can have better schools. I get tired of hearing that District 4 has the lowest performing schools in the state. And we need to do something about that, because as long as we are marked with that, we're not going to attract business to this area. And number three would be economic development. And if we can clean up our own house, if we can get better schools, then economic growth will come. I have a group of the best volunteers in this city working with my campaign. It's a multiplicity of ethnicities. Asians, African Americans, Anglos, Hispanics, because that's what makes up this community. And when I'm elected as your city councilman, I will turn this district back over to you. This district will not belong to Carl Hayes. This district belongs to you, and I will treat it that way. And when my term is up, I will graciously step aside and let the next person have it. I will not try to pass it on as if it belonged to me to someone else. That's wrong, because this district belonged to you, and only you should have the right to pass it on to the next person. Now, I have tried to demonstrate my qualifications to you over the years in service to this community. I started as an attorney in Dallas, and the first year that I started out, I realized that I did not want to sit across the table from someone that was more qualified than I was, because when I represented your sons and your daughters, I wanted to be just as qualified as that person sitting across the table from me that was trying to send your sons and your daughters to prison. So I joined the Dallas County Public Defender's Office. Now, I wouldn't expect Mr. Ranger, Ms. Saunders, or any other candidate to come up here and tell you, oh, I'm not the best candidate. And I'm not going to do that, because I think I am the best candidate. But it's not important what I tell you or what they tell you. What's important is, what does my record tell you? As a member of the Dallas Public Defender's Office, my very first year, I was the runner-up for Defender of the Year. The second year, I was voted the Defender of the Year. Then I became the director of the Dallas County Public Defender's Office. As the director of the Dallas County Public Defender's Office, I was able to grow that office into the largest public defender's system in the state of Texas. I think I have a record that has demonstrated my ability to handle not only people, budgets, but to have a coalition of people working together. In my office, we had every ethnicity in the city of Dallas working in that office. And that's why we were successful. Then I left the public defender's office and became a judge. As a judge for the city of Dallas, my first year, I was voted in the top 5% of all the judges in Dallas County. I was reappointed 7 consecutive terms for 2-year terms. So I was there 15 years. Every year, I was voted in the top 5% of all the judges in the city of Dallas. I have a record, so it's not just me telling you what I am. Anybody can get up here and tell you how great they are and grade their own report card. I have a record. I want to be your next city councilman so that I, again, can turn this district over to you, so that anything that happens in District 4, you will know about it. As a member of the Dallas City Council, we have, in addition to holding that seat and being your voice down there, we appoint to 51 boards and commissions. And right now, most of us don't even know who those boards and commissioners are. Many of them don't even live in our district. That's not right, folks. That's not right. Those folks represent you. I promise you, if I'm elected your city councilman, you will have a quarterly meeting in your district. Not just in Glen Oaks, but I will have a meeting in every part of District 4. And I will bring those board members before you. And before I go outside District 4 to appoint a board member, I will make sure that we have made sure that someone in District 4 has been given the opportunity. I will only go outside District 4 if there's no one in District 4 qualified to serve. And those people will represent you, and they will be accountable to you, because they will be at those meetings that I have with you, and you will be able to get in touch with me, and you will have your answer. I want you to remember me as the Look candidate. Look, L-O-O-K. The first L stands for listen. I will listen to you. The first O stands for I will always have an open mind as well as an open door policy. The second O stands for opportunity. It doesn't do any good to have an open door policy, open mind, if you don't have the opportunity to come in. And the K stands for keep. I will keep in mind that this district belongs to you, and it will always be your district. I will just be your spokesperson. Thank you very much.